Now, Netanyahu is problematic also on the personal level. That is true. But it is not a personal problem. Boogie Ya'alon, who I appreciate very much, did not surprise me as well. Boogie Ya'alon is a pragmatic man. He's a Zionist, and when Netanyahu come to him and tells him, look, Obama tells me that he will not help me with the Iranian threat, and will be left alone to deal with the atomic bomb that they develop, that he's going to let them do whatever they want. Or he's going to let the Arabs in the land of Israel, they call themselves the Palestinians, he's going to let them declare a state and support them, and then we all be a war criminals if we cross the green line. And therefore I have to do these concessions, and it's only for 10 months and so on. A guy like, what do you expect a guy like Boogie Ya'alon, with all the honesty he has and Zionism that he has, he's a total different personality. He has a total different personality than Netanyahu. Yet he is looking at the reality from what we call, from a so-called pragmatic way of looking, and it leads him to the conclusion that he has to support this decision.
Well, I disagree with that. In what sense? What do I mean? I mean to say that I just toured a group here, and I told them this is pragmatic thinking. Pragmatic thinking means that if you have 23 Arab countries all around you, and you have a tiny little Israel, there's no way you can cut it in half and survive. And the people that are inside our country, Arabs, they can't be allowed to vote us out. So we shouldn't be afraid of their vote, because pragmatically we came to create a Jewish state, and we shouldn't let anybody utilize our democracy against us. Therefore, I started explaining the idea of resident alien for any Arabs that want to stay in our country, and I explained this all to them very rationally. And I said to them, listen, I love the Torah, and definitely that's my basis to be here. But I can rationalize and explain my argument on something that every Texan can understand, or every person that wants self-determination can understand, or every lefty can understand. This is about a movement of the Jewish people returning to the land of Israel, what was unlawfully taken from us by Romans, and we're coming back. We're the native aborigines of this land. We have rights. The world recognized those rights. Not that they gave us rights, but they recognized our rights, certainly west of the River Jordan. And I make, every argument in the world. I make argument for, evicting those people who hate us, calling it a transfer of populations, which happened between Greece and Turkey and between India and Pakistan. I talk about the Japanese model of citizenship, where non-Japanese people can never be, citizens. And my point is that I have a dual point, which is, one, you can understand our rights to be here rationally. You don't have to be a religious person. And two, we also know of a lot of religious people, faith-based people, who don't have the faith that you're saying. It takes a combination of those two things. It takes a combination of nationalism and of faith in God in order to it takes rational mind to justify a right to be here.
Yishai,
it takes faith in God to want to stick it out.
These two identities, the Jewish identity and the Israeli identity, lives in peace in your heart, then everything you say is pragmatic and makes sense. Once you have a problem, you're trying to be a nation like all the nations, and you need the Americans as a bridge to the family nation. You're very much afraid. You cannot, the possibility of staying alone, left by yourself in the world, okay, with your Jewish identity, against the whole world, Am levadad yishkon, okay, as the pasuk says. You cannot take an idea like this into account. It cannot happen, okay. For you to say no to the Americans and be left by yourself only as a Jewish nation in the Middle East is simple, because you live in peace with your Jewish identity. It is not the truth. It is not the way it is for the leadership of Israel today. For them to become isolated, to become a nation aside the family nation, not a part of the family nation, is something unheard of. and therefore they're willing to pay the price of give the land piece by piece in order to buy time, in order to stay with the basic Zionistic Israeli dream of becoming just Singapore of the Middle East, as Shimon Peres called it, or
that's not the real Zionism, of course. That's the type of Zionism that missed the point of what Zionism is about. Zionism is about recreating a Hebrew culture.
Yes, not Hebrew culture, Israeli culture. Israeli culture, and
Israeli
I can
culture.
show you during the 20s and the 30s many arguments. It's not of books that were written and so on. The basic Israeli idea is not to build another level on the Jewish identity, but build a new nation instead of the Jewish people, Israeli people, a new identity. We are Israelis, not on top of our Judaism, but instead of our Judaism. And when reality push you, I mean, I believe that today, in this exciting process with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, God pushes us to a corner where we have to stand for ourselves with our Jewish identity. They cannot let it happen. They need to keep the bridge with America and through America to the entire world open, and that's the price that they are paying. Of course, everything you said makes sense if you don't care about that. If you understand that, if you're standing on your own feet, it doesn't make sense to give away your land. But when you understand the psychological problem over here, the basic problem over here, you see that without leadership, that coming from a total different direction, from a Jewish direction, there is no solution. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you change one prime minister with the other. Menachem Begin was very right-wing, very ideologic. He knew Jabotinsky's ideas better than me, and he gave away everything in Sinai. He destroyed villages and actually started the process of Oslo. Then Yitzhak Shamir, who was the best of all, still could not hold against the pressure and open the door to Oslo, to the continuation of Oslo in Madrid. Then came Benjamin Netanyahu and Ariel Sharon, and now again Benjamin Netanyahu. And we see that these all people that not all of them are not honest. Shamir was honest, Begin was honest, Sharon was very strong and a real leader. Netanyahu himself is a very talented man. Each one of them have his strong parts and weak parts, and they all coming to the same corner and losing and cannot continue, because what they lack is exactly that point.